Hi Copenhagen parents. This is definitely a strange way of doing a curriculum evening, but hopefully you get all the information you need from this PowerPoint, and if not, feel free to come and ask questions at the end of the day. I'm sure I've seen most of you already, but in case I haven't seen you, then hello. And hopefully we have a chance to meet in person soon.
So this is the basic structure of the day. So at 8:35 they come in. There'll be a morning activity, which is normally maybe a maths challenge to have to work on, or an English activity. Maybe it's a quick reading comprehension. Maybe it's just a random question. The other day I put on the board, would you like to live in outer space and why? And I had to write on their whiteboards why or why not they would like to live there, and what their reasons were behind that. At 8:45 we have collective worship, which would normally be as a whole school, but currently we can't due to social distancing, so that will either be a pre-recorded video by Mr. White or by Laura, and if not, it'll be a Bible story that will be the same story read to every class in the school at the same time, but obviously not all together as it would normally be. At 9 o'clock we do maths, which is we follow the maths mastery scheme. This is a scheme they've been doing since they started school, I think, and it's really helpful. They've created a timetable so that I can access the maths that they may have missed last year without missing out on any of the year 5 content as well. So I think the other day we caught up on some Roman numeral content they wouldn't have had a chance to cover last year due to being at home. And then at 10 o'clock we do handwriting. We follow the Pen Pals scheme for this. I've noticed that's an area that they might need a bit of practice with after having so long of online learning, just having a chance to practice their writing. And one of the requirements in year 5 is that all children write in a neat joined style with increasing speed. So even if they can join the handwriting, it's about getting faster at doing so. Then 10:15 we have break time, which at the moment they'll just be with their bubbles with their class. Then 10:30 we do English. We follow the Power of Reading scheme. As a whole school we've just covered Here We Are by Oliver Jeffers, and that gave them a chance to discuss and share any anxieties they had about coming back to school, any worries they had during lockdown, sort of coming back together, discussing. One of the things we did was wrote a letter to Munira Wilson about the environmental impact of quarantine and the positive effects to the environment, and we also had a chance to look at the Black Lives Matter movement a little bit and just discuss that a bit more. And at 11:30 we do a maths meeting. So that will normally be just recapping skills, making sure they're fluent in things. For example, times tables. I know in year 4 there are times tables tests which we don't do in year 5, but it's good to keep refreshing them because they may have forgotten over a lockdown. 11:45 we have lunch, which is 45 minutes, and then 12:30 we come back, we do ERIC, which is everyone reading in class, for at least 20-30 minutes a day. I think that's really important. The more books they read, the greater their vocabulary and the greater their writing becomes. And we also do the foundation subjects in the afternoon, so science, topic, French, art, RE, basically all the other subjects other than math and English. We do the daily mile in the afternoon. That helps break it up, as I think we've got a bit of a longer afternoon now than they did before. And we also do our spellings, following the read write ink scheme that they were doing last year as well. And then at 3:05 we have the end of our day. Here is a list of all the topics we will be covering in year 5. So we start with the Anglo-Saxons, which is what we're looking at the moment, looking about where they came from, why they chose to settle in Britain. We'll be doing some work on Anglo-Saxon laws, and lots of different things like that. And at the same time we are reading, or we've read Here We Are, and we'll be moving on to The Journey, which is, this will be the first time I'm covering this text as a picture book, although it covers more grown-up themes, so things like the refugee crisis and what it might be like for a refugee family fleeing from a country. Then we'll move on to the Vikings, which follows on quite nicely from the Anglo-Saxons in terms of time periods. We'll be at the same time reading How to Train Your Dragon, which is a fantastic text because it sort of has a slightly modern spin on Vikings and Norse mythology. And then in Spring 1 we're covering Shackleton's Journey, which is about Ernest Shackleton and his expedition to Antarctica. So this will link to a geography topic of Antarctica, and we'll be looking at whereabouts in the world that is, what the climate is like there, what sort of animals you can find there, etc. And then in Spring 2 we are reading Clockwork by Philip Pullman. I've got a whole class copies of this text, so they'll really enjoy being able to read that as a whole class. I know last year my class quite enjoyed it because it had a sort of mystery element to it, and at the same time we'll also be covering Earth and Space. And then in Summer 1 we go on to the Tudors, which I'm sure they know lots about already, living in close proximity to Hampton Court, and we'll be reading the book Treason by Burley Doherty, which is a historical fiction text that which will follow the life of somebody in Tudor times, so they can learn a bit of history through English as well. And then in Summer 2 we will be doing Macbeth, and we'll be looking at Shakespeare. Hopefully we'll have a chance for a Shakespeare workshop to come to the school, and then they can practice the language and use that vocabulary in their English writing as well. So this is the curriculum map for our first half term. I can see a couple of things I will need to change or adapt slightly based on our current situation, but this is a rough overview of what we'll be covering in class. So in maths we were looking at reasoning with large whole numbers. We had a chance to look at 5 and 6 digit numbers, rounding, and we did a bit of work on Roman numerals. We'll then be moving on to problem solving involving addition and subtraction, which will be with a lot larger numbers than what they would have used in previous years. And then we will go on to line graphs and timetables. Maybe if you've got a chance to at home, you could show your children some examples of timetables so they can become familiar with them, such as train timetables or even TV timetables. What's the schedule on your TV? English, we've written a letter to a government official. I sent those over to Manira Wilson, and I'm hoping that she'll reply to them all, as they were quite excited about writing those. Hopefully we'll have a chance to make some Saxon glue, and I'll get them to write the instructions out of how to make those. So that'll be a chance to write a piece of non-fiction. We've read and discussed Here We Are, and we're now moving on to The Journey by Francesca Sanna, which is a story about a family of refugees and their journey they take to flee their country. Linking to this text, we'll be composing poems in the style of Edgar Allan Poe and Tennyson. So this week we've been looking at The Raven and composing our own poem to do with the story of The Journey, but in the similar style to that poem. And we'll be also looking at The Kraken by Tennyson. Another piece of non-fiction writing, I'll get them to write a newspaper report about the refugee crisis. So we'll be looking at the language that the media uses when discussing refugees, have a little bit of a debate about what we think about the current situation, and then they'll create a newspaper report, which hopefully we'll be able to create into a whole class newspaper. In terms of punctuation, we'll be revising and recapping all the basic punctuation that they will have used further down in the school, and on top of that we'll be looking at inverted commas for speech, apostrophes, so we're looking at contractions, and we'll be looking at commas. For grammar, we'll be looking at relative clauses, modal verbs, parenthesis, expanded noun phrases, compound and complex sentences, and adverbials. So lots of grammar content in year 5, so I might be sending them home some grammar worksheets to practice for their homework as well. In French, we've been looking at how to greet people and give personal information. Yesterday they enjoyed asking each other if they had any brothers and sisters and going around the class and quizzing each other in French. And we'll also be looking at how to describe people and celebrities. History, so our topic is Anglo-Saxons. They'll be planning where to build their own Anglo-Saxon settlements, following some criteria. We will hopefully have a chance to make Anglo-Saxon bread. As I said before, I may have to check guidelines around things like that. We'll be looking at how Christianity came to Britain. We'll be looking at warrior kings and laws, and hopefully they'll have a chance to form an Anglo-Saxon courthouse and decide what laws and what punishments people who break the laws should be. If we get a chance as well, we'll have a look at Kingston, as that is quite significant in the Anglo-Saxon time period, or was quite significant, I should say. Science, we're looking at forces. We're doing lots of different experiments, so we've been looking at gravity and Isaac Newton. We looked at Galileo and air resistance, and we'll be looking at water resistance, friction, and exploring mechanisms and designing our own machines if we have a chance. So we'll hopefully enjoy, as they're quite a creative bunch. In art, we'll be looking at Anglo-Saxon brooches, designing our own, creating them, and then evaluating them. In music, we won't have a chance to sing at the moment, but we'll listening to and reflecting on Living on a Prayer and similar music within that genre, so artists such as Queen, Deep Purple and Status Quo. In RE, we are looking at Hinduism and the key beliefs of Hinduism and key practices and how values and ideals influence and underpin behaviour and attitudes. So we're looking at karma, we're looking at the importance of family to the Hindu community, and they have lots of different times to reflect and look at what it means to be a Hindu. In PE, we were going to be doing street dance at the moment because we are doing our PE sessions outside. I've adapted that slightly, so we're doing lots of different team games, giving them a chance to be all together, working collaboratively after so long being apart. In computing, we're looking at e-safety. I know in year 5, that's when they begin to become more into technology and spend more time maybe on iPads or computers, etc. So just discussing how we keep safe online, cyberbullying, how when we text somebody, send a message to somebody, it might seem positive from your perspective but maybe interpreted in a different way, about being safe, creating safe passwords so that they are secure, and about online friends and how to be safe online. And also in PSHE, we've had a chance to discuss all their worries and concerns about coming back to school and anxieties they may have had over lockdown. They've started creating targets for the year ahead. We've discussed about behaviour and its impact on themselves and others, and they came up with their school rules for the year, what as a class they're going to work on and stick to. And we'll also be looking at British values, so democracy, about everyone having equal opportunities and how we could treat each other with respect. So reading homework is pretty similar to what it would have been in year 4. However, we've increased the expectations. So in order to get green, mark in your reading diary you need to be reading 5 times at home per week, just because they may have missed out on a bit of reading during lockdown, so there'll be a chance for them to catch up. And as I said, we're really encouraging them to read as much as possible to boost their vocabulary and improve their writing. And then 1 to 4 comments would be a yellow and 0 comments would be a red. I try to read or hear every child read at least once a term, ideally more than that, just depends on how much time we have. In year 5, I'm happy for them to write their own comments in their reading diaries as they become more independent, but please try and read maybe once or so a week with them, or just discuss their book with them just to hear how they're getting on, so they know that you value their reading as well, and that you're interested in their progress. They will pick their own books out in year 5. I may have to help them a little bit if they're struggling to find a text that they like, and I'm happy to do that, but I encourage them to choose their own books, so they can have a maximum of 3 per week, and every time they finish one they come and change that again. So maybe they bring 3 books home but only finish 2 of them, they can change the 2 that they've finished. Or if they don't finish in a week, as some of the texts are quite large in year 5, then they can just carry on reading that book into the next week. I know some children were a bit worried if they hadn't finished a book they couldn't add a comment. I'm happy for them to write, oh, read 10 pages or finished chapter 2, and then add a bit of a comment there, because some books are so large it'll take them quite a while to finish, and then they might not get as many comments in their diary. This is the Common Exceptions spelling list for year 5. They should have hopefully brought that home in their yellow spelling book. I know I made sure they stuck that in, so you should hopefully have seen this already. But each half term they've got a set of words to practice, and we'll practice them a little bit in class as well. And then at the end of every half term we do a spelling challenge, and if they get 100% they get a certificate. If they've made an improvement from last time, for example maybe they got 8 out of 10 and now they're getting 9 or even 10 out of 10, I'll give them a most improved certificate as well. So make sure they are practicing these spellings at home in their yellow spelling book. They will also get spelling homework every fortnight. This will be set on either a Tuesday or Wednesday and due 2 weeks later. They will get a green logbook which they'll put their spelling rule in for the fortnight, and they'll put their tricky words from the previous unit in the top book and their words that fit the new spelling rule in the bottom book. They will also, I've now been setting some ready writer homework that links to the spelling rule, so they'll have a chance to practice it online as well. You may be concerned that they haven't got their green logbook yet. At the moment they're covering 2 spelling rules that they didn't have a chance to finish in year 4, which were both words ending in ION. So that's why at the moment I'm getting them to put those in their yellow logbook, yellow spelling book, sorry, and when they finish those I'll hand out the green logbooks for their year 5 words. So they'll have the chance to access Ready Writer as well to practice this spelling rule, so that'll be every 2 weeks they'll have a chance to practice that online as well. And if your child currently does Nessie, I'm happy for them to do that as an alternative to get some practice of spellings there. You may have seen in the letter they brought home on Monday, there are a few additional pieces of homework we expect in year 5. So every week I will be setting a mathletics piece of work on a Monday, which will be due for the following week. I'll make sure this links to whatever we're covering in class, just to see if this will really help me see who understands the topic, who might need a little bit more support with whatever it is that we are studying. I will also be setting a fortnightly piece of English homework. This may be a grammar activity linking to what we've learnt in class. It may be more of a reading comprehension homework. It may even be a writing task. These will be set on a Monday and due the following Monday. The English homework will be due it'll only be an English piece every 2 weeks, so that will be a 2-week long time limit to complete it in. Just a couple of reminders, we have PE on Monday and Friday. We would be doing indoor PE on Monday, but currently both our PE sessions are outdoors, so make sure your child brings warm enough clothing as we get into the winter months. And show and tell, if they want to bring something in to show us about or tell us about, this will be on Fridays. So make sure if they do want to bring something in, to bring it in on Friday. And if you have any concerns or queries or any questions, I'm always there at the end of the day. If not, you can phone or email, and email using the staff at stmaryshamptonschool.org.uk. At school, I have provided every child with rubbers, pencils, glue sticks, etc. already, but if your child would like to bring a pencil case in, here is a list of suggested equipment. I know last year my class thought it'd be okay to bring in endless supplies of pencils, rubbers, from Spiggle and different stationery shops, and they kept losing them in the class. So please try, if your child is bringing in stationery, to only bring a small amount so they're not worried about losing it constantly. So this is a suggested list. So a rubber, a couple of pencils, maybe about 3 or 4. They don't really need that many, as they can only use one at a time anyway. A sharpener, glue stick, scissors, purple pen for corrections, highlighters, and a ruler. So this isn't expectations. They don't have to bring in any stationery. I have everything provided, but if they would like to bring in things from home, this is a suggested list. As I said before and a couple of slides ago, if you have any questions, please feel free to see me at the end of the day. If you want to arrange a meeting, you can send an email or talk to me over the phone, or write it on the notepad outside the classroom. Hopefully you got all the information you need from this PowerPoint, but do let me know if there are any other questions or queries you have about Year 5. I hope you found this helpful, and hopefully I'll see you around in the playground soon.